Good morning, guys. I have a bit of a problem that the natural scheme of things would be for me to go on to three-dimensional area and volume with you guys. So we're going to leave parallelograms behind and move on to area and volume. But I think that it's probably better off to do that in the class when we can actually cut out some cardboard and make the shapes that we're talking about. So I'm going to skip that, which then leads me into statistics. So statistics starts on page 123. Okay, so statistics is on page 123, and quite importantly, it's basically all theory. Okay, so there's a huge amount of theory that you're just going to have to read through yourselves. So I'm going to assign that as kind of reading homework. Page 123 all the way up to page 127. And that's going to be, you're going to have to read that, okay, and make sure you understand it. If you don't understand something, please let me know in the chat, or get on to me by email or something. Let me know that you don't get a particular thing, and I will try and make a video about that individual thing. But to be honest with you guys, it's pretty straightforward stuff. It's just there's not really much that I can kind of do sums, you know, so it's very weird for a maths teacher to be talking about this sort of stuff. There are kind of some things that we do need to talk about, and the first thing is data. So data is information, and data is actually a plural. Okay, so the singular of data would be datum or datum. So you can have one datum and you can have 6 data or 6 data. Okay, so that's a kind of a weird word that no one ever uses. Okay, most people would talk about we have one piece of data. They would never say we have one piece of datum. They would never say we have one datum. Okay, now data, for us, there's 2 different types of data. Okay, there is categorical and there's numerical. So there's categorical data and there's numerical data. If I asked you a question, let's say, how far away is the moon from Cork? Okay, how far away is the moon from Cork? Well, the answer would be, I don't know. So Cork is at the center of the universe, so, and the moon is, so maybe, I don't know, 1,000 kilometers. I don't know. There's probably some exact figure on that, okay? But the moon is, I don't know. Do not think that this is some scientific distance, okay? I'm just guessing that, okay? Just picking a number out of the air, okay? But the crucial thing is that it is a number, okay? This is a number. So because it's a number, this is called numerical data. Yeah, so I now have a piece of numerical data. What's your favorite color? What's your favorite color? The answer to that might be red. Is red a number? No, so this is not a number. Therefore, it's not numerical data. Therefore, it is categorical. Now, when you guys go into Leaving Cert, we'll be refining that down even more again, okay? But if the answer to the question is a number, well, then you're dealing with numerical data. If the answer to the question is something other than a number, you're dealing with something that is not numerical, which is categorical data. Okay. Now there are some grey areas, so it's really strange for a maths teacher to be saying this, but there are some things which I find really weird. Now some people, if I asked you what, and I probably shouldn't even be putting this on YouTube because it's going to show that I don't know what I'm talking about, but what is your shoe size? Well, my shoe size is a 9. But is that really numerical data? I'm not so sure that it is numerical data, because what we're doing is we're putting people's feet into different categories. So we're putting everyone with a size 9 foot into a particular category. So this number is actually just a representation of a category. There's no reason why we're calling that the size 9. It could be a size I, or it could be a size J, or it could be a size K. Okay, so what is your shoe size? So technically it is numerical, but in my mind, technically it's also categorical. So I'm not quite sure what the correct answer is on that. Now, so that's data. There are also, there's one other thing that we can talk about in this chapter, and that is where's it gone? Oh yeah, primary and secondary data. Primary and secondary data. Okay, so you guys are in secondary school now, and this is the second school that you have been in. You would have been in a primary school before this. Okay, so primary comes first, and then secondary comes next. Now, primary data is data that you make yourself. Okay, self-generated. Secondary data using someone else's data. Okay, so primary is self-generated, secondary we're using someone else's data. So for example, if I stood outside the school and I asked people, or I counted the number of cars passing by in an hour, okay, I would be generating primary data. However, if I asked someone else to do that for me, if I paid a company to stand outside the school and count the number of cars that pass by in an hour, and they gave me the information, they gave me the data, that data is then secondary data. Okay, so if a company actually carries out research itself, it will be generating primary data. But if the company calls in other people, well, then they're using secondary data. And the best thing about secondary data is that sometimes you don't actually have to pay anyone to do it, because sometimes it's already done. So for example, if I wanted to know the color of car, the most common color of car in Ireland, rather than me having to go out and count all the colors of cars, the government already have that information available to me. So if I use that, I would be using secondary data because I'm not calculating or I'm not formulating the data myself. So primary data is data which you generate yourself. Secondary data is when you're using someone else's data that they have generated. And it's usually an organization like the government that would generate secondary data. Okay, so I'm going to leave it there, and I'm going to assign for you guys questions 1, 2, 4, page 128. Okay, so we'll talk about these tomorrow. and I might pick one or two of the questions in there unless you guys get on to me and ask me to do specific questions. But if not, we'll talk about these questions tomorrow, and we will, yeah, so it's probably going to make more sense when we start doing the questions, okay? But have a read through those pages and then have a go at those questions as well. Okay, guys, so actually, you know what, lads? That's far too much homework for you guys to do. So I'm going to get rid of the questions. Okay, so just do the reading tonight. Okay, read through it and make sure you understand everything in there. If you don't understand something, please let me know and I'll try and get it into tomorrow's video. Okay, see you guys.